If you've got a keen eye, you might notice I've moved a few things around. I cannot help myself. That noise in the background is the dog chewing on a bone. So sorry. I just want to make a couple of comments. So I do overlap all of these edges by a centimetre. And what I dislike is edges all meeting up. So for example, see, I've got like 3 edges there, so I've covered that up. And here, this is almost a straight line with that edge and this edge, so I've covered that up. So I use the round pieces, which I often put on towards the end, just to soften edges. So this is still an issue here. I'll have to do something about that. And I've only just noticed it drives you nuts, doesn't it? So that's my aim, and I may just be able to resolve this with some stitching. So what I should probably do is stitch across rather than like up here and up here. I think I'll stitch across in some way to sort of join it together across here to try and join it up. Anyway, who knows. I am now auditioning some threads, and these are DMC threads that I've thrifted over the years, and I'm sort of going to go, I think I'll go for this. It's quite neutral-ish, or that one. I think this one is not quite the right tone. It's a bit too pink. One of these two, or both maybe. I have used a linen, could be a serviette or a handkerchief, not sure. I've just marked a squarish or a it's a rectangle, and this will be one side of my drawstring bag. You can make these any size you want. I've just drawn it on with a there you go, a pen that will wash or iron out. I'm ready to start stitching, and I've just threaded a needle with 3 threads of the DMC, and I recommend starting in the middle. It just helps you avoid sort of puckering, and I'm going to start here just by sewing this little piece down, and then we just work out what we're doing as we go. I'm just going to do a very simple running stitch. I'm using a hoop just to stabilize this. So here's one of the things that can happen. I've sewn a little bit down, or quite a bit, and see this gap? It's a good ½ centimetre. So the fundamental root cause is I haven't allowed enough overlap. However, it is fixable. So one of the reasons it's fixable is I'm using the same tone background. So I've got a slightly off-white background with these, colours. So it's less of an issue. But I will just find something and I'll place, a piece over that. So all this is totally fixable. So let's have a bit of an update with the slow stitch pouch drawstring bag, whatever it turns out to be. So you recall last time I was mentioning this gap here. So a little bit of lace will cover that up. And my preference is not to just put one of something. So I've changed this around a little bit and added a couple of pieces of the lace up there. And I did have one of this piece here, and the more I did of this, the more I thought it's not quite right, the colour's not quite right, and just one is an issue. So I've introduced this little piece of Aduna there, and then I've put a piece of that Duna up there just to sort of blend that in a little bit. Now I've only got sort of the stitching to do up here. I do recommend that you do it in sections. So I started in the middle and I've gone out this way, then I've gone across and up here, and now I'm going to do this section up here.
everything is a running stitch. There's no French knots, there's no blanket stitch, it's a running stitch. And where I have a curve in the fabric, I've just done running stitches around the curves and stitched these down just with like a little whip stitch around them. And I'm just stitching this with a lighter bit of like just cotton from a machine. One of the things that I really like, this is actually from a tablecloth, this piece here. Excuse me, that's the dog in the background. So this light, I guess airy because of all these holes over something dark is a really nice effect. I think what works is you can see the pattern, the spots quite nicely. Here is where I've done a running stitch just following the curve lines. Otherwise it is all that way, horizontal. Here I've just gone around in the square, horizontal, vertical, vertical. These are stitched down on two sides just so that they stay nicely. This is stitched around the edges, plus I do a couple of little stitches in the middle so that that doesn't flop around. This wild piece here, I've only done the edges, whereas this is a bit bigger, and in fact I've done running stitches all the way along.
Just let me show you what happens when you don't sew the middle bit down. It's sort of loose. So just a few tacking stitches either around there or even around the middle will work, and I might add a couple more here. So the bigger the doily is, the more I guess of the layers you need to tack down. I'm going to square these edges off because you can see I've sewn over my marking line. You can just see the marking line there, so that's been sewn over it, as has all of this section here. Just squaring off all of the sides along the original line. And of course I've just cut a couple of the stitches, but I will very quickly serge those edges. The original plan was to do two of these, one for the front and one for the back, and still do a lining, but I'm running out of time, so I've decided that I will just use some plain fabric as the other side or the back of the bag. So my next step is going to be to sew these right sides together, and I've sewn them together along the bottom edge, so ultimately it will sit up like this. And I'm lining this with a bit of a doona cover, and so now what I need to do is cut a piece of my lining the same width as this, which is, I'm going to say it's about 10.5 inches, I'll measure it accurately, and 2 inches taller than this length all the way along here. I have pinned my pieces together, so and I've pinned each right side to right side, so my outer, which is this one, and the spotty are right side to right side there, and then my lining is also right side to right side, so we've got them just pinned. So there's 4 layers, and there's the lining that I said would be needed to be a couple of inches more. Mine's a bit less because I just needed to straighten it up, and then I've folded each edge in about you know, a centimetre or so, a bit less, and it will eventually fold down like so. The next step is, as I said, to sew these sides, but we need to allow a channel for the string or ribbon to go through for the tie bag, and so this will be this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave a gap. So I'm going to start sewing down there, and then I'm going to leave this gap here. So it's only a centimetre because this should have been bigger. Leave that centimetre, start sewing again, and it's exactly the same on the other side. So we'll sew and then like tie off, leave a gap, start sewing, tie off, start sewing, go all the way to the bottom and tie off. Okay. Right, so the edges have been sewn down there to there. I've left that
gap, so that's like my finger width, centimetre and a bit, and then I've sewn that up there as well. The next stage is to snip in to just before your sewing line on each side, and we'll do that now. Just check where the sewing line is. And we need to open this up, and we're going to glue it. It just means when you thread your cord through, it won't get caught on these little flappy bits, which is sort of annoying when that happens at the very end. So I'll just iron them, and then I've just got a bit of a glue stick, so I'll just basically glue each side, and then it's not a permanent, but once you sew this all down, that will make it permanent. I'm going to just snip the corners of these because it'll just make it sit a bit nicer. I've glued them. I just want to show you what you've made. Like that's going to be the channel, and see it's totally enclosed, so it's a really easy way to make your channel. And now we will flip this. So you take the main sides, like that's the main outer both sides, and we just open it all up, and you will be quite amazed. Just need to poke those edges out, but ta-da! Look at that, it's lined. That's the back, that's the lining, and there you go. Now I'll probably give this just a quick iron as well. Here we are with it turned around, and now we're going to fold this down a couple of times, which I quite like. And again, I should have made mine bigger, although on the other hand it would have just covered more of this up. Rightio, I've rolled it over using the first fold that I've made, and I've just popped some wonder clips in. So I will sew it both along the top edge there and here. And again, let's just have a look at there it is, there's the channel, look at that. Just stop just before, because there's not like a big gap there, and it's not a huge channel, so I'm going to stop just there and then restart just there. Here we go. I was going to sew along the top edge as well, but I'm not going to. I think this is sort of, only a centimetre or so on each side. It'll sit fine without it. So now just to find the right cord for it. I have found some cord in my stash, which I'm going to use for the drawstring. So with the drawstring, you need to have 2 pieces, and I've got 2 pieces, but to measure up, you simply make sure that you've got 1 piece that is 4 times the width of your drawstring bag, and then you just cut that in half. I'm going to use a pin, so I've pinned 1 piece and squiggle it through. You don't want to see me do this, so I'll just show you how I do each piece, and I'll show you the direction that they need to go in. I threaded the first piece all the way through, and now I take the second piece and I'm going to thread it through in exactly the same way. So both threads are through from the right side to the left side, and I'm just going to take the one that I threaded second, and I'm just going to continue to thread it through the other side. This is it. The drawstring bag is finished. I've just loosely tied those strings all together in the front. And what I think if I'd done the slow stitch on both sides, it would have been too thick and wouldn't really gather enough. So I think just doing it on the front is great. Or alternatively, what you would do is, instead of adding extra pieces and slow stitching on all of it, you just do it in sections, and avoid where you can
like these areas up here, so it's not thick. Avoid the side seams, you know, have something in this sort of area, you know, center, off center, but avoiding the seams. And I think that would work really well. Also, here you go, the Scrappy Drawstring Slow Stitch Pouch.